chance to support this bill and congratulate Lord Balfour on bringing it. As far as I'm concerned, it's perhaps a tiny little brick that we might pull out of a colossal wall of indifference and very bad democracy. I'm sympathetic to the noble Lord Lipsey's view that a referendum is often not a way to settle a very complex issue. I think we've understood that with the whole Brexit referendum. But at the same time, I'm not sympathetic to his view that voters sometimes find things too complex or can't be bothered. And I would have thought that the voting in Alabama this week would have shown us that when the cause is just, voters will come alive and actually cast their vote and make a difference. I'm probably one of the few people here in your Lordship's house who's actually been elected under PR, but also under first past the post. I've got to tell you, they were equally difficult. It was difficult to get elected as a London Assembly member, and it was difficult to get elected as a local councillor. But obviously, a very rewarding experience on both counts. On proportional representation, there's always a lively debate, and people feel very strongly, quite often, one way or the other. But most developments in Britain's constitution have come about through compromise and negotiation, and sometimes just a sort of add-on, an unusual add-on. And so I do think that Lord Balfour's bill offers a compromise, a very gentle compromise, on allowing proportional representation in a way that will have the vote, will have the support of voters. It doesn't force change from above, and it actually allows local people to decide how they elect their local representatives, which I think is excellent. And I would have thought this bill fits quite well with the government's declared devolution and localism agenda, because there's no good reason that local people shouldn't be able to choose their own local election system, I would have thought. And there's even less reason that the government should force first past the post on a local authority if there is public and cross-party support to replace it. And I do think it would be pretty hypocritical if the government were to oppose referenda on the future of local democracy. Quite a lot is made of the will of the people at the moment. We're hearing it on both sides of the chamber constantly, here and in the other place. And it seems that a lot is made of it when it suits people, and then it's completely negated when it doesn't suit their arguments, which of course is very depressing. I mean, even though I voted for leave, because I want to amend the bill, I'm assumed to be a traitor and an enemy of the people, which I do find very offensive. So you can't just care about the will of the people when it wants Brexit and not care about it when it wants a local election system to suit itself. The will of the people is either sacred or it's not. Of course, as a Green Party member, I care very deeply about proportional representation, because I'm well aware that our first past the post in the past always predicated a strong and stable government. But that's clearly not the case anymore. It's clear that first past the post has outlived its usefulness, and it has become infuriating to watch this particular government in league, a minority government in league with a very niche party who actually got half as many votes as the Green Party in the last election, but they got 10 times as many MPs. I really would like an answer from the Minister as to how that is fair or democratic in any way at all. Half the number of votes and 10 times the number of MPs. The Green Party policy is that we should have single transferable vote for local elections, and it can be done in a way that maintains a constituency link and or a ward link, whichever is more appropriate, creating a much more proportional voting system. But there are a variety of views about which system to use, and almost all of them are better than the current system, and this bill would allow local communities to decide for themselves. It is possible for local authorities to be too strong and stable, where you have local authorities that are totally dominated by one party. It is easy for that local authority to resist views that are quite commonsensical, quite reasonable in lots of ways, but because it isn't their view, they resist. And I could name quite a lot of councils. For example, Sheffield City Council has a supermajority, and they've denied debate by opposition councillors simply because they can. And I don't think that's democratic in any sense. And with directly elected mayors, I think this has been a very interesting experiment. Here in London, the mayor does have quite a lot of scrutiny because it has a London Assembly that is actually a very competent group of elected politicians, and I think the mayor can be held to account. In other places, it's not as easy, and I think there's a lot of tweaking to go on with mayors of cities. The balance of power between councillors and mayor was considered to some extent by the Court of Appeal in the Doncaster Libraries case in 2013, but there's lots of questions left unanswered. And the general view is that councillors are massively weakened where there are directly elected mayors. And so the mayors have a lot of leeway that perhaps they may not use to best effect. We need to shake up our political system to break up safe seats, rotten boroughs, and political monopolies. It isn't healthy for democracy when we have those sorts of things. And so turning back to the bill, it's very sensible, moving forward on an important issue. We're told that people are tired of politicians and experts telling them what's best, and we're told that power is being wrestled back from cosy elites. We're told that politicians must respect the will of the people. If we can trust the people on Brexit, then we can trust them on virtually anything. So let's try with this bill to start a process of making our system more democratic. And today there were 3 bills that I would have liked to, 3 second readings. I'd like to have spoken in all of them. But being only me, I don't want to hog lots of time, and so I'm only speaking in one of them. Now, if I had some green compatriots, you wouldn't have to hear from me all the time, and I would have thought that was a big enough incentive to perhaps get some more green peers here in the House of Lords. Thank you.
My Lords, it's always a pleasure to follow the noble Baroness Jones, and particularly appropriate today because